Hi everybody, my name is Mary-Louise McCready and I'm here from Staff Support and Counselling today to talk to you about stress. So the aims and the objectives of this course is we're going to look at the differences between stress and anxiety. So when is stress good? And some small practical steps that we can take every day to minimise the effect or the affect of stress. So what is the actual definition of stress? Stress is defined as how the body reacts to demands or stressors. Stressors are the cause of stress. So if we think about children, they can be quite stressful sometimes. They can be stressors. Now we can't remove the child, but we can remove some of the stress that they cause. Stress is part of everyday lives. And it's just not possible to live a stress-free life unless you move until the top of the mountaintop with nothing around you. But then we can be stressed because we've got nothing to do. But if we can learn to manage our stress in positive ways, we can prepare ourselves for increasing life challenges. So when is stress good? This is called eustress. For example, the excitement of going on a roller coaster ride, sitting down to watch a scary movie, or a fun challenge. So something perhaps that we haven't done before. There will be that element of stress, but there will be that element of excitement as well. It could be the anticipation of a first date, the first day of a new job. Now that can be quite stressful or anxiety provoking, some people say it. Or there could be other exciting firsts. They all come under this umbrella of eustress. It's a type of stress that's actually important for us to have. It's a stress that can have a positive effect on you, and I would invite you to think about what it would look like without it. So you wouldn't get that anticipation that you get before a scary movie, or the anticipation before a big event, or going on the roller coaster ride. Everything would be quite monotonous, I feel, would be the word I would use. It would just be, oh, okay, that's that done now, and that's that done now. So there'd be no excitement without eustress. But when stress goes bad, your stress turns into de-stress. And this is stress that negatively affects you and leads to that discomfort, that anxiety, and the thoughts and feelings of not being able to cope, or not doing it at all. So there are 4 different types of stress. There's threat, frustration, pressure, and conflict. So a threat example is the fear of being harmed. So physically, if you're overly stressed or letting stress work against you, physically, you may stay away from confrontational conversations for fear of physical outbursts. So you maybe feel a physical threat. Emotionally can also include that staying away from the confrontation or those brave conversations. And also within that, you'll be worrying that a friend will not invite you to an event, or when a friend does invite you to that event, how you will be at said event. Frustration. It's a major thing to get stressed when you're frustrated. When we become frustrated, it can lead to an increase in our own stress. So, for example, excuse me, if you're at work and we believe that someone else is not pulling their weight, and we feel like we're the one doing all the work, this may be the case of the stress. What we tend to do is overcompensate for them. So we do their work because we don't believe that they are going to do it correctly. And you tend to put your own work aside, or you get very frustrated and you get very angry sometimes, and you might be having conversations with other workmates that, you know, that person over there, they don't do this and they don't do that, and that again can lead to stress. Pressure to perform to the highest standards all the time, meeting deadlines, and so on. I'd like us to stop here and just think about the above sentences. Whose standards? Whose deadlines? Is it somebody else's deadline? Is it your pressure? Just think about that for a moment. So thinking about the two previous slides, having far too much work, what would we do about that? What we need to do is focus on the results and not the workload itself. Many of us tend to focus on the amount of work. So this huge pile of paperwork here, this is the amount of work I have. Instead, prioritize what do you need to do in your short-term goals. So is there a collection of small jobs that you can do in order to complete? Or do you need to spend a vast amount of time or a longer amount of time to do one thing? So are you doing both? Or what we tend to do is we try to do them at the same time. So we'll go, well, I've got these little things to do. I'll do them at the same time as I'm doing this big thing. So you start fragmenting. Now it's all very well and good. We keep saying about we can multitask, we can do this. Sometimes that's not good because we're doing lots and lots of things all at the same time. So we're not able to concentrate. So what do we actually need to do today in order to achieve our most pressing goals? So has something got to be in for tomorrow or the end of that day or lunchtime, or is it in 3 weeks' time? Can you put it on your to-do list? Focus your energy on having too little work. That can also be really, really counterproductive. So if you've got too little to do, so you start looking out the window and then you become pressured because you don't do anything at all because you tend to wander off. So can you focus your energy on new and specific goals? Is this something that you want to achieve? And once you've identified your new area of focus, apply yourself and add as much value of yourself as you can. So what do you want to achieve? What are your objectives? What are your aims? Is it me? Are things not happening as fast as you would like? Take time to reflect and evaluate the effectiveness of each thing you do. So that's about really doing that balancing thing. Weigh potential solutions. So in these moments, turn your attention to something else, something that is in your control. And then you can have that tangible impact on it. If you've got your finger in lots of pies, you don't get the same self-gratification from it. At the end of the day, stress management is a necessary part of everybody's lives. The best way to go about this is to look at your sources of stress objectively and work smart to identify solutions. So that's about asking yourself that very, very brave question. Is this me causing this stress? Am I putting too much on myself? Whose else's responsibility is it? Who else has control of this? What we tend to do is take everything on board. Conflict. For this, I don't mean an external battle. This is your very real internal battle between what you need and what you want to do. So you've got those two conflicted emotions. So what I want to do is this massive project, but what I need to do is all these little projects. Or what I want to do is clean the entire house from top to bottom, but I've only got 42 minutes to do it in. So then you always feel like you've failed, which can higher your stress level again, because you're not completing these magnitude of tasks that you've placed upon yourself. So what are the physical signs of stress? Stomachache, sweating, pale. That's because the blood's not rushing as it should do. It's not moving about the body as it should. Headache, very tiring, very tight and sore muscles because we tend to pull everything together. We tend to grit our teeth, and so you get toothache because we're clenching our jaws. Rapid breathing because we tend to breathe from here and not from the bottom where you're supposed to. Shaking, you get shaky hands because you're going all in different directions all at the same time. Emotionally, we can feel moody. There can be a loss of enthusiasm. Yes, you've got all these things that you wanted to do or needed to do, but you can't be bothered to do any of them. Forgetfulness, again, because we're trying to do too many things at the same time, and then we start worrying about them. Have we done them all correctly? Have I done something wrong? Apathy. So again, that's tied in with the loss of enthusiasm. You can start feeling quite overwhelmed and quite snappy and short-tempered and getting irritable with those you love around them, taking it out on the cat or the dog or your loved ones. So when I'm talking about all these things, I often get asked the question, yeah, but that's anxiety, isn't it, Marie? There's a tangible difference. So people under stress experience mental and physical symptoms, such as the irritability, the anger, the fatigue, the muscle pain, stomach aches, and difficulty sleeping. Anxiety, on the other hand, is defined by persistent, excessive worries that don't go away, even when you take that stressor away. So whatever it is that's stressing you, that stressor, once you take it away, it's still there. That's when it becomes, and that's when it's anxiety. However, the feeling of being stressed can be triggered by an event that makes you frustrated or nervous. Anxiety is a feeling of fear, worry, or unease. It can be a reaction to stress, so stress can turn into an anxiety, but they're not mutually compatible. Excuse me. Or it can occur to people who are unidentified significant stresses in their life, so they just keep carrying on and carrying on and carrying on, and that can lead to anxiety. So the difference is here, because we do love a model, don't we? So stress can be short term. So once, if you remember what we were saying before, once that stressor has gone, it can be in response to a recognised threat. So the threat, the conflict, the frustration and the pressure, those things there. So you've got in this half of the Venn diagram, the moodiness, the irritable anger, loneliness, dizziness, then physical symptoms, anxious thoughts, generally not feeling very happy, and the feeling of being overwhelmed. The symptoms can be shared between stress and anxiety. So the heartbeat, faster heartbeat, so the heart pounding in the chest, the faster breathing, and those very real stomach problems and having to go to the loo more often. Restlessness, tenseness, sweating, nervousness, and a feeling of unease or stress. So we're talking about in the short term, we've got that recognised threat. If it lingers or can linger, that can lead to the anxiety, and we may not identify the trigger. Very often people will sit in my sessions and will say, nothing's happened, I can't remember, you know, actually everything's quite good in my life, and I've got a lovely house, I've got a good job, I've got a lovely husband, I've got a lovely wife, I've got great kids, but I've got this anxiety going on. So sometimes it's about looking at the stresses in their lives, and what we usually find is it's stress that they're putting on themselves to achieve to the highest standards, to always do 150%, to try and control everything, to try and have an influence of everything, but most usually what everybody's taking responsibility for things that go wrong, that when we break it down into small pieces, they probably had a percentage of influence over. They didn't have 100% responsibility. They didn't have 100% influence over it. So they're blaming themselves for something that didn't go right. It's a little bit like blaming the rain for raining on your new hairstyle. Oh, of course it's raining, I've just had my hair done. Bloody rain. You know, that's a coincidence. We didn't have any influence over the rain, but what we did have influence on is checking the weather report before we went to have the hair done. So did we take an umbrella? Really start to identify the stress or the stresses in your life. So what stress management, so we're trying to manage this stress now. So we were identifying the sources of stress. This isn't as straightforward as it sounds. While it's easy to identify the big things, such as changing jobs and moving, going through a divorce, pinpointing the sources of chaotic stress can be more complicated. So if you remember, we were talking about those small things. And it's also very easy to overlook your own thoughts and feelings and behaviours that contribute to your everyday stress levels. Sure, you may know that you're constantly worried about work deadlines, but it's your procrastination, it's your putting off of the thing rather than the actual job that demands that's causing the stress. Look closely at your habits, excuses and attitude. So, do you explain stress away temporarily? I have a million things going on right now, though you can't remember the last time you had 10 minutes downtime, the last time you took a breather, the last time you let yourself relaxed. So you run with the stress. You define stress as a motivation. It's an integral part of your work and house. Things are always crazy around here, or that's how I am. So I have lots of nervous energy, that's what it is. So you give it sort of a different slant. Whilst these things may be true, are there some things that you could be putting down? Are there some things that you could be passing to somebody else? Is it always other people who stress you out, outside events, or viewed as entirely normal and unexceptional? Is this just the way it is? Is there some things that you can be removing? Until we were able to expect responsibility for the role that we play or the little bit that we're in there, you can maintain your stress level and it will remain outside of your control. So we're looking at the things that we can control and letting go of the stuff that we can't control. So we need to think about the 4 A's. We need to either avoid it, alter it, adapt it, or accept it. So the 4 A's of managing stress. So it's not healthy to avoid stressful situations that need to be addressed. So we're talking about things that you need to do or you want to do, but you may be surprised by the number of stressors in your life that you can eliminate. So we're talking about eliminating these things. So learn how to say no. This is a real big thing. People always feel guilty for saying no. I think they have to come out with this myriad of excuses. Know your limits. How much time have you got in a day? Have you got 29 hours in your day? Have you got 34 hours or have you got 24 like everybody else? And then when you break that down, I've got this amount of hours to do stuff in. The rest, I'm engaging in life, eating, sleeping, bathing, breathing. Whether it be your personal or your professional life, taking on more than you can actually handle is a surefire recipe for stress. Distinguish between the shoulds and the musts. So I should be doing this. I must do that. Say no. You're taking on too much. I haven't got time for that at the moment. I may be able to do it next Thursday. When you're having that conversation with other people, we tend to come out with the excuses first, and then we end up saying, oh, we just say yes, because it's just easier to say yes because you're removing that stressor, because that person who's asking you to do something is your stressor. So they're going, Marie, can you just do us 14 databases, deliver 17 sessions and see 7 clients in the next 10 minutes? immediately your brain goes, oh, all that stuff, and you just say yes to get rid of that stressor. Try to avoid people that stress you out. If there is somebody consistently causing stress in your life, limit the amount of time you spend with that person, or simply end the relationship. Do you need this person in your life? Take control of your environment. If the evening news makes you anxious, if you're sitting there going, oh my God, the world's terrible, all these terrible, terrible things, turn it off. Go and do something else. Put something on that makes you smile or laugh or sing or cry even, in a good way. If traffic makes you tense, take the longer route if you're able, or use that time when you're stuck in traffic to have some downtime, do some breathing, take in what's about you, people watch. If going to the supermarket is an unpleasant chore and you really don't like it, do your shopping online. Do you have to go? Really pare down that to-do list, analyse your schedule, responsibility and daily tasks. Have you got too much on your plate? Drop the tasks that aren't truly necessary to the bottom of the list, or eliminate them entirely. Alter. If you can't avoid that stressful situation, like I say, there's a fine line between avoiding it and avoiding things that are not good for us. Try to alter it. Often this involves changing the way you communicate and operate in your daily life. It's about you don't have to be nasty when you say no. You can say, unfortunately, I haven't got time for that at the moment. I can do it next Thursday. Or, you know, having that conversation with your husband. What we tend to do is, I do all the work around here and we list all the stuff that we do whilst you are off fishing or out on your bike or something. It's about having that communication. You know, can you help me with this? I'm doing this. Why don't we do it together? And those sort of conversations, which are difficult, but they take practice, but they do work. Express your feelings instead of bottling them up. If something or someone is bothering you, be more assertive and communicate your concerns in an open and respectful way. If you've got an exam to study for, or you've got stuff to do, an interview to prepare for, and your chatty roommate or your chatty child or your chatty husband or wife just got home and they're blah, 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 blahing in your face, say up front, okay, if this is important to you and you need to talk now, I've only got 5 minutes. I can only give you 5 minutes at the moment because I'm just doing this. If you then sit there listening to the blah, 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 you then start resenting it because they've stolen your time, and your resentment will build and your stress will increase. Be willing to compromise. When you ask somebody to change their behaviour, be willing to do the same. Don't then expect that person to listen to you for the next 2.5 hours. But are they willing to give the 10 minutes of their time? If you're both willing to bend a little, you'll have a good chance of finding that happy middle ground. So this is your time for blaring. That's my time for blaring. Can we blar together? Create a balanced schedule. All work and no play is a recipe for burnout. Try to find a balance between work and family, social activities and solitary pursuits, daily responsibilities and downtime. So it's not all about work. It's not all about family. Where is you in that schedule? Really look over it with new eyes. Get somebody else to look at it if you need to. What we tend to do is we take self out. So we only do stuff when we have time or when everybody else's stuff's done. So we'll give ourselves 5 minutes at the end of the day when it's 10 o'clock at night and you want to go to bed. So you then start getting stressed and resentful because you haven't got that time. Alter. You can't change the stressor. If you've had those conversations and it still didn't work, you can adapt to stressful situation, regain your sense of control, change your expectations and attitudes, reframe them. So try to view stressful situations from a more positive perspective. If you remember, we were talking about before sitting in that traffic jam. Look at it as an opportunity to pause and regroup. Is there some music you can be listening to? Taking that time to breathe. Turn your phone off. Don't have conversations. Don't start texting people because you're stuck in a traffic jam. You know, oh my God, I'm stuck in a traffic jam. This is awful. It's back to back. Unless that person's going on the same route as you, you may want to look at your journey. It's a bit of a traffic jam going on here. Look at the whole picture again. I would invite you now to step back, to have that real bird's eye of everything. Take perspective of the situation. How important will it be in the long run? Will it matter in a month, a year? Is it worth going upset over? If the answer is no, focus your time and energy somewhere else. Adjust your standards. I've kept touching on this on the way through. Who is putting these standards on you? Who is putting these pressures on you? We try to be perfect all the time. We try to have the perfect house, the perfect marriage, the perfect children, the perfect job, perfect lunch, perfect shoes, perfect holiday. Everything's, when it doesn't go 100% perfect, when some small thing that is usually out of our control and not our responsibility, we view that as a failure. It's a major sort of stress. Stop setting yourself by demanding perfection. Set reasonable standards for yourself and learn to be okay with that. Won't go well. That was good enough. That was fine. Fine's okay. Fine's brilliance. Practice gratitude when stress is getting you down, because it will, because like we keep saying, stress is a part of everyday life. Take a moment to reflect on all the things that are good in your life, all the things that you appreciate, including yourself. We never, ever include ourselves in this gratitude. You know, I've got a nice laugh, or I could make people happy, or I make a damn good cake. We don't reflect and take gratitude for our own qualities and gifts. This simple strategy helps you put things in perspective. Except, again, some sort of stress are unavailable and you can't prevent it or change it. Some cases, the best way to cope with stress is accept things as they are. It may be difficult, but in the long run, it's easing against rolling against the situations that you can't change. When you're in that constant battle, that constant threat, especially if we think about the last 2 years, it was so difficult. Once we came to accept that this is the way it is, it won't be forever. We will come out of it at sometimes. Yes, it was still irritating. Yes, it was sometimes uncomfortable. But you came to that more accepting part. Most of the things in our lives, and many of the things in our life, are out of control, particularly other people. Rather than stressing out about them, focus on the things that you can control, such as the way that you react to problems. Look for the upside. When facing major challenges, look at them as opportunities. If your own choices contributed to the stressful situation, reflect on them and learn from them. So how did I make that more stressful? Was I going overboard? Ask yourself those very brave questions. Learn to forgive. Accept the fact that we live in an imperfect world and people that make mistakes. We are human. I am human. You are human. We make mistakes, and I'm not guaranteeing that I won't make them again. I will try my best not to make the same one, but I'm not guaranteeing that either. Let go of anger and resentments, anger towards yourself, anger, resenting yourself, anger towards others. Free yourself from negative energy by forgiving, and this means yourself as well, and moving on. Is there somebody that you can talk to? Expressing what you're going through can be very cathartic. You know, there's the old adage of problem shared is problem halved. Getting it out there, even if there's nothing you can do to alter that stressful situation, talk to a trusting friend, phone staff support and counselling. That's what we're here for. We're here to listen. We're here to share. We're here to walk that journey with you. So practical stuff we can do. Learn to recognise what your body is saying. It sounds really, really obvious, but how often do you get caught up in stuff that you forgot to eat your lunch, forgot to drink your water, not going for a wee? And now you're so annoyed because you're hungry and you're dehydrated that you can't focus on your all these tasks that you give yourself. Eat, sleep, practice your breath, the complete breath. Fill those lungs. That's what they're there for. They're the bellows. Your mind and body influence one another. Look after your body and it will feed your mind too. Thoughts are fleeting. They pop in and they pop out. But practice just letting them run through. Don't give them any meaning. Don't give them that anchor to stay there. Don't overcommit yourself. Avoid scheduling things back to back to back to back and trying to fit too much into one day. Too often we underestimate how long things will take. So we'll give ourselves 15 minutes for that, 25 minutes for that, 30 minutes for that, when in fact the first thing going to take an hour. We think we can do all this stuff. Prioritise your tasks. Make them short, make them snappy. I don't want to see massive, massive lists of many, many things colour coordinated that you've got to do in the next 15 seconds. The important things, do the high priority things first. If your gas bill needs paying because they're going to cut you off today, perhaps you need to do that first rather than doing a 2-hour presentation. If there's something that you really, really don't want to do, or it's unpleasant or stressful, trying to do it as early as possible. Get it over and done with. But plan something within that day that you enjoy. Break projects into small bite-sized steps. Focus on one manageable step at a time rather than running at it. So don't rush and gush at it. Take it a step back. What do I do first? Do the first. Now what do I do? Then next. Don't give yourself that opportunity to run. Delegate responsibility. We don't have to do it all ourselves, whether it be at home, school, or your job. If other people can do it, let them. Let go of the tight desire to control and oversee every little step. You'll be letting go of unnecessary stress in the process. Sometimes stress is upon us before we even know. So when you're frazzled, we want to do it right here, right now. So you're frazzled by your morning commute or the walk up the stairs. You're stuck in a stressful meeting at work, or you're fried from yet another argument with your other half. You need a way to manage your stress right now. The fastest way to reduce stress is taking that step back, taking a real big deep breath in. So we're filling those lungs, we're using those bellows. Using your senses. What can you hear? What can you taste? What can you touch? All through a soothing movement. So that's connecting with another part of your senses. So we're looking at a photograph of your fluffy cat or your dog or one of your child or your mum or your dad, a flower, a picture of the sea, a soothing movement, something that you smell. So is it your perfume? Is it the smell of lemons? Or is it something quite strong? Listen to a piece of music. That first taste of real nice minty spearmint when you pop that gum in your mouth, or hugging your pet. What we're trying to do is relax and refocus because we're in the moment. So that was a whistle-stop tour of stress and its effect, with some little things that we can do to bring our stress levels down. I really do hope that you found something useful for your toolbox that you will take away. Staff support and counselling are here to listen, to give you those coping strategies. We offer one-to-one sessions. You can get them through your workplace. You can phone the number 0300 124 0104. You can speak to one of our lovely, lovely ladies in the office. You can self-refer or make one of the inquiries, or you can pop us an email at that address. There's also lots of topics going on, such as this one today, that you can bob in and bob out of. Is there something that appeals to you? Look on LMS, look on the ERS, look at the educational newsletter that gets emailed about. Give yourself 10 minutes that day, give yourself an hour. Is there something that you want to learn about? So thank you all for listening to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. As I said, my name's Mary Louise and I'm from Staff Support and Counselling. Thank you all. Have a great day.